exactly.
All right, so we're going to be covering scheduling promotions. So from the main menu, because promotions are related to price, it's considered an inventory function. So we're going to go to inventory and prices. From prices, we're going to go to the promotions. There's a bunch of different types of promotions, but for our purposes, whenever we're scheduling a promotion that is kind of a standard sale for stores, it's going to go under this standard promotion button. Some of the other promotions, like special prices, we use for different purposes, like long-standing discounts. Now, this is important in that it does follow order of operations. And so these prices are supposed to be separate from promotions, and so they are intended to be applied only if a promotion was not already applied to that item. So every promotion is going to start with a group code. Now, this group code can be anything. Typically, we code them to give us some indication of what the sale is. And there is a limit of 10 characters for the group code. And so we're going to name it based off of whatever sale we are. And this is typically the code that on the back end we're going to be using to look up that sale. So if you're familiar with doing the queries in SQL, the group code is typically what shows up when you try to pull back the promotions and the discounts. So we're in practice, so we can just set up promotions. We'll go through a few different types, and then we don't have to really worry about it causing any issue or discounting items at the store level. So this one we'll do as, oh, I'm still in search. So when you're doing a new group, you can just start typing in here, and you'll hit tab or enter to go into the next field. Then you're going to give it a description. You have a little bit more room to work with in terms of describing what type of promotion this is going to be. So this is a test promo. So now we also have the option to add a mix and match code. Now it's important to note that once you add a mix and match code to a promotion, it gets locked in once you save it. You cannot change that mix and match code. It becomes permanent. And we'll go over in the next one exactly what that means. For now, we'll just start with the basic promotion. So from there, understand that this is actually a group, not a single promotion. So we can actually do an entire group of different promotions within this same group, as long as they follow similar rules.
So like BOGO 50, buy 3, get 1, that kind of deal? And you
So
run different
Mix and match.
BOGO exactly is going to be a mix and match. And so BOGOs are actually always going to be their own group because they require that mix and match code.
So this would be more like 20% off every Friday for the month of.
Yes, exactly. And so here we can set a begin date and an end date. And this applies to every rule that we end up creating within the group. You can choose no begin date and no end date, although this is pretty rare in terms of how we do our promotions. From there, we're going to actually go and create our separate rules. Now, our rule description is a required field, and this is going to describe the particular rule that we're setting up. So let's say we're doing a promotion on 10% off all dog treats. So here we would give it some type of description that's descriptive to us. Dog treats 10% off. Here we'll actually define the rules of that promotion. So if we wanted to do buy 2 and get 10% off, you would say that this has a minimum quantity of 2.
I feel like we should be recording this whole session.
I am.
Oh, you are good.
Okay.
Here we'll pick the price method. So pick price means that when those things are entered, the associate would pick the price. A fixed price means that we're going to apply a fixed price to these items based on our determination at the end here. So for purchasing 2, we would set a fixed price. So if we wanted to do buy 2 for $10, normally regular price, you could assign that using a fixed price rule. We've got discount percent, which is going to discount the item a percentage. We've got discount amount, which is going to discount a specific dollar amount from an item. So 10% here or $3 here. We've got markup percent, markup amount, and margin. Typically, we've never found a need in our promotions to use any of these, but they are as they say. So based off of cost, it would mark it up a percentage or mark it up an amount. Because our costs vary so much from store to store, but we generally don't use this because it would be very...
So we could use that, for example, if we wanted to do a donation. So someone, is this for one item though, markup, not for the total ticket? You know what I'm saying? Like how we would like to round up. Is that something we could use for that? Like, you know, we want to round up your price. You know what I'm saying?
No, so
Okay.
this is setting the price to a percent marked up from the cost.
Yeah, right. Okay.
So it's not going to round it up to the next dollar or round it down. It's just going to
give it a specific,
give it a set
Okay.
price based off of what the cost of the item was. So in most of our cases, we find ourselves using discount percent and discount amount, and occasionally we use fixed price in most of our promotions. So here we'll set up a discount percent. Next, we're going to choose our basis. This means what price are we basing it on? Again, in our case, we kind of only ever use one option, and that is price 1. However, there are a lot of different options here, just so that you guys can familiarize yourself in case at some point you decide you want to change how it's done. And so price 2 through 6 we don't actually use currently, but we do have the ability to set different price levels or different price tiers using those fields if we wanted. Regular price typically indicates the MSRP of an item. However, currently we don't maintain that field regularly enough for it to be of much use. So in almost all cases, for the time being, we're going to select price 1. From there, we're going to give it a percentage. So here we could say, I want to do a discount percent of 10. Now, from here, it actually allows us to add another line once we hit tab or enter. And so if this was, for instance, a tiered discount, and this is a little bit tricky, we could say, well, if they buy 4, we're going to do a discount percent instead from price 1 of 15%.
So this is like the progressive sales that
So yes, you can set up your progressive sales based off of this. Next, we're going to define what items it applies to. So in the past, we could kind of just go through here and set very generic rules. We have to be a little bit more specific now, but we have added some ability to filter a little bit better. As with any filter field, if you right click, you're going to get the option to customize or simplify the filters, and you can use these to do the various filters that you need. So in this, we decided we were going to do dog treats. So if we click on the field that we're looking at, we have the ability to change it to a whole list of different fields, all contained within the items template or the item table. And so here, if we look for subcategory, we'll say subcategory is exactly, and this will allow us to choose one very specific category, or subcategory rather. And so here we can see that we've got dog food, cat food, other food, and dog treats. So 401 is our actual code for item category dog treats, description treats. Now, you can get very fancy and very specific in here on how you want to apply different discounts. And so let's say that you wanted to add a size field. Right now, that's not going to be super useful. So instead, let's say this sale is only on a particular manufacturer. So a couple of tricks you can do is, one, if you select the item and you control up or down, you can actually move the position of where the filter sits. This is important because you can actually set filters at different levels. So you'll notice that the subcategory field actually moved to the right. And so what I did was I indented it by using Control Right. All of these can also be done through the right click where you indent or outdent. And the importance of this is that it actually allows us to do sub-filters. So let's say we wanted to look at manufacturer, and we say manufacturer is exactly, and if one of you want to go ahead and choose a manufacturer that you'd want to put on sale, preferably somebody that does treats.
Cloud Star.
So Cloud Star is not under Cloud Star. There's a different manufacturer.
So do Honest Kitchen? They have treats.
So great. Honest Kitchen. So here we're looking at manufacturer Honest Kitchen, treats. And one of the cool things you can do is, again, if you right click, and there are hotkeys, Control R being preview results, you can actually see a list of the items that are affected and would appear based on this filter. And so this way you can get an idea for how accurate or inaccurate your particular query was, or your
So they
filters are.
included proper toppers as dog treats,
Correct.
but that wouldn't be on sale.
And so that's a great point. And so really, when you see something like this, that actually it should be a trigger, not just for you to say, well, the filter's wrong, but maybe the category is wrong, right? Because if proper toppers are not a treat, they shouldn't be showing up here, which means that the inventory team or the merchandising team needs to go back and correct these and update them to be freeze-dried or dehydrated or whatever they happen to be.
Yeah, weird category for them, the toppers. Like, I don't know what that would really fall under, you know. They could be treats, but it's used to mix with food, so.
I came up with a dental sale and I pulled like a whole PS list of things.
And so
One random thing.
you'll find that somebody like who has an actual understanding of what the products are and what they should be and knows where they should fall categorically can actually make a huge impact on our data integrity by calling these things out so we can actually correct them.
Yeah.
You know, and unfortunately Tommy didn't know enough about the products themselves to make that type of determination.
Right, so I have Nicole and Adriana to check.
But realistically, again, this is the opportunity for us to
Exactly.
fix these so that it's permanent. That the next
Right.
time we run a sale like this, we don't have to worry about that.
Right.
So here we've got manufacturers, Honest Kitchen, subcategory is exactly 401. Now, some of the cool things we can do is, again, let's say we wanted to add in some other sub type of or filter for Honest Kitchen to include in this. This is where we could actually go through and choose a new filter, and if you indent it and then you select or, you would now be able to say subcategory manufacturer Honest Kitchen, subcategory is this or this. Now that's not entirely necessary for this because subcategory can also be set to is in, and this allows you up to 3 different subcategories. But there are some cases where you'll find that the number of fields that you have aren't sufficient, and so instead of having to repeat your filters over and over again, where you have to say manufacturer and subcategory or manufacturer over again, you can indent and set subfilters that all of these filters will generate against this. And so what this is saying is manufacturer is Honest Kitchen and subcategory falls in this, or manufacturer is Honest Kitchen and subcategory falls somewhere in here.
Gotcha. So this could be like, for example, if Honest Kitchen did supplements, and that subcategory could be like joint, dental.
Exactly.
stuff like
Yes.
that.
Very.
Wait,
That's correct. And so that's a way that you can actually build some more complex filters. From there, because this is a 10% off sale, we'll actually want to exclude certain customers. And we're going to want to exclude customers based on their category. And the reason we want to do that is because we don't want 10% to be taken off on customers that already have a standing discount. So this is actually a bit newer for us, and so there's still going to be some opportunity for us to improve how we exactly do these filters. To be simplistic, I could say customer category is empty. And what this should do is only bring up customers that have not been assigned a category. And the category are the things that we use to assign those special pricing, like EMP for employees, military, police, firemen discounts. Any of those automatic discounts, this will exclude them from this particular sale, which doesn't matter because they get 10% off anyways. And so again, we can do the same trick, either Control R or right click and preview results to see the list of customers that based off that filter are available. Now it does truncate this to about 300 results, but typically it should be enough for you to go through and do some verification and make sure that the category is in fact empty. So once you've done that, you also have the ability to set different things in the stores. And so, or sales rather. And so sales is where you can set specific stores only for this particular promo. Now remember that these filters only apply to the rule, not to the group. So if you were to say, well, this particular promotion only applies at store 101, and again, you could also set a date range. So starting today and going through tomorrow, only store 101 would have this price rule set for them. However, if we add an additional rule, so in order to get that rule to stick, we'll hit save, and it actually brings up a new line. So if we set up a new rule, unless we set store-specific rules here, these rules would again apply to all locations. So it's important to remember that the group contains all of the rules, but each rule is independent of the other rules. Now, that being said, there is an importance again of order of operations. So as you create this rule, they end up in a list. And we'll go ahead and we'll just set up a very basic rule here. Discount percent, price 1, 10, and I'm just going to leave everything else blank in this since we're just doing it for test purposes. But this would, in theory, apply a 10% discount to all products in all stores. We have the ability here to set group order. So group order is the order in which the groups apply. And so you'll see this is actually all of the groups or all of the price rule groups that exist for the entire company. But you also have order of operations within the group itself. And so by selecting a rule, you can move it up or down and determine which rules apply first or second. And this gives us some interesting flexibility when it comes to how we want to do various promotions. So how we discussed doing the pricing here and setting up 2 price rules, you could also, in theory, do that through setting up order of operation rules where you do separate rules. And in that instance, you would create the 4 quantity at 15% off at the top, and then the 2 quantity at 10% off on the next line. And it gives you some different ways of achieving the same results.
So because on the sheet that you sent me, you said no arcane behavior or handle that.
So I do want to bring your attention to the mix and match code, which is now grayed out. So again, you'll notice that once you've created a promotion and saved the first set of rules, you'll no longer have the ability to change the mix and match code. So it's important that anytime you're doing a promotion that will require it, that you set that in advance. From there, if we want to set up a new group code, we can hit the plus key, and this will bring us up to a new group. So here we'll do test 2, and this is going to be BOGO promo. So mix and match codes allow us to say that a group of items are all going to be included or can be mixed and matched to achieve the quantity results for a particular promotion. So in the last promotion that we ran, those items would need to be the same item in order to actually apply. So while it seemed like you would be able to purchase 2 products and get the 10% off, the last promotion we actually created would require you to purchase 2 of the identical item in order to qualify, or 4 of the identical item to qualify. And so by setting up mix and match codes, we can actually set those rules up so that you can purchase 3 different items within the group and receive that discount. So most mix and match codes that we ever do are done off of quantity. And I will tell you that doing it off of price is a little bit tricky, and we haven't really worked out all of the details of how and why it does certain things when you choose to do it based off of price. But it's not necessarily intuitive. So here you can either choose an existing mix and match code, or we can create our own. Now,
hold on, Mark.
From there, we're going to give it a description.
Sorry, because I got.
And this mix and match code needs to actually be applied to the items at the item level. And so here, price based on, you see a whole number of different ways that it allows you to do price based on. Again, we've only really delved into total quantity. Excuse me. But it does give you the ability to do it based off of weight, cube, and different numeric profiles. Again, I'm not sure how to make these useful to us, but it's there in case we ever decide. So the one way that I could think of this being beneficial is if total numeric profile 1. So at the item level, we're allowed to give items a value in numeric profile fields. And so we could, in theory, give items point values. So this item is 1 point, this item is 2 points, this item is 5 points. And then based off of that point value, we could say, use that value to generate whether or not they earn this particular promotion. So again, interesting. I don't know that we would ever use it in our own business practices, but it's
relating it to margin potentially.
It
Five might mean you have 50% margin out of 4 might mean 40%, something like that.
we could, and yeah, absolutely, we
could
could.
utilize that for within mixology. Like if you buy a kibble, could be worth so many points, and a can of food, and then maybe a topper. Like you could associate points that way.
So again, remember though that this is for a standing promotion, and so the customer is not gaining these points over time. This is per transaction.
That's what I mean. Like if you were to buy a bag of kibble and a can, like to encourage combining different foods and buying foods. If you buy this and that, I guess we could do it a different promotion as well. Just
So again, here's the thing: you have to remember that then all those items have to be assigned the same mix and match code, which is fine. But you can only have one mix and match code per item.
Yeah.
So if it's going to be part of a different mix and match, which for instance cans are currently part of a different mix and match.
It just can't be the same time, or right?
Correct.
Yeah. So we could do 1 week could be a mix and match of kibble and cans, and then the next week could be.
So and
kibble.
Again, I just want to make it clear, like you can't say that, like you're going to assign it a point value, but you can't actually force them into mixology using this.
No, I'm not
right?
saying
Because
force them.
As long as they get the points required for whatever discount you set up, it didn't matter what they purchased. So if you assign a 5 to a bag of kibble and it requires 10 points, and they can buy 2 bags of kibble. So
Correct. So
it doesn't
probably wouldn't
necessarily
work for this.
work for that particular instance.
Right.
But again, it's an interesting way to think
something
of
to think about, maybe.
ways that you could potentially set
You
it
guys
up.
are so interesting.
Aren't we though? So we'll save the mix and match code. And again, we can set a begin and end date for this promotion, or we can leave it open-ended. And we'll go into our rules. And so here we'll say BOGO 1. And here we're going to use BOGO and 2 for pricing. So when we do BOGO, what we're actually telling it is that based on quantity, I want to apply some type of percent. So again, it works similar to what we did before in the last promotion, except now we're actually able to combine different items. They don't have to purchase 2 of the same. So here if we say 2 and discount percent, again, based off price 1, and we've got 5% off. And then if they instead purchase, and so it's slightly different though in that this actually goes in order, right? So in this instance, you get, on the second one, you get 5% off. And on the third item, you get 10% off. And I believe, I haven't really played with pricing in a while, that what this does is this applies it to the second item. So the second item would be 5% off, and the third item would be 10% off. Not all items getting this flat discount. So the first item was at full price, this one's 5, and the third one is 10. And then if you were to do the fourth one at 100% off, the fourth one would be free. Again, you'll go through, you'll set your various item filters, your customer filters, and your sale filters if you need it to apply to a different store. And the best way for you to really understand what filters are available is to kind of come in here and see exactly what it is. Now, I will tell you that sales is related to the ticket header. So information that you would generally find in a ticket header is what you'll also find here.
So this is where you could say, do all stores accept 101 or accept, right? You
Yes,
don't have to-
absolutely. You can absolutely inverse. So for that is not exactly.
Okay.
So this would be all stores that are not exactly store 101. Otherwise, the various rules work very similar. So we've looked at group codes and order importance. And one neat trick is if you kind of want to see the list, you can do a search, or you can also use this button to switch to table view. And table view will actually give you a different view of the group codes externally instead of the rule codes. And so here we can actually get a list of all of the different groups that are available. As with most screens in Counterpoint, we can set various filters as soon as it's done scrolling.
So if there's already like a buy 3 or buy 3 get the fourth one free group already available, you just go into there and set some new rules.
So you can, assuming that the group is applied to the items that you want it to be applied to. So again, just keep in mind that it has the mix and match code has to be applied at the item level, meaning that you assign it to an item. So if there are items that are included in that group that you don't want to be part of the sale, they would get included in that sale if they have the mix and match group applied.
Okay.
And if there are items that are not in that group already that you want it to be applied to, again, if you don't apply that mix and match code, it won't be included. So here we could say we could do it by group code, but more likely we would say let's only show us promos that are currently enabled. And so now we can actually just see active sales. And again, this becomes important when we begin talking about order of operations, because if for whatever reason you have an item included in more than one type of promotion, this will determine which promotion gets applied first. So I think we don't need to go too much into setting date ranges, but again, I just wanted to be clear, like you set a begin date, you set an end date, and then this will automatically terminate this sales or this group of sales, but internally you can actually set those dates as well at the rule level.
And end date includes that day, it's through the end of that day.
Correct. So you can actually be super specific if you wanted
Like
to.
that specific
You
time.
could do sale date and time
Like when I start with shit down on the east
on or before
or after.
2/28 at 12:10
9:40 p.m.
p.m. Right? So this sale ends at 12:10 tomorrow exactly, and so anybody who comes in after 12:10 would no longer get the promotion.
Gotcha.
So we've done rules, orders of operation, item filters, customer filters, sales filters. Did you guys have any questions?
No, I mean, I figure once do a couple live, we'll
Yeah.
start driving me home.
How come for when you did the mix and match, you had the 5% off for the two, then 10%, and it progressed to 100%? Why'd you have to have it as 5, 10 first, and then to the 100? Did you need to
So
do that?
no, we
Okay.
don't. And so again, that's more.
Because I mean, you could just be like,
It would be like quantity 3, 0, 4.
right? That's
So
what you would.
is that, that's, yeah, that was
Correct.
for demonstration.
That was just
Okay.
for
Okay.
demonstration
But we do
to
already.
show you
Gotcha.
to
That
show
sounds
you
like
too.
okay. Sounds good.
Is that after our response about the tenant allowance?
No, I went back.
Yeah,
And that's promotions in a nutshell.
That are non-starters and are not.
correct.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I
would say
feel the
percentage
biggest
on
one is getting your item filters.
You get the right number.
Once
every day,
you
and it's a fair
Figure out
number.
how to make
I think
these
you
useful.
decide with the condition.
it's
If
gonna
we're getting a corresponding tenant allowance.
make your
So
life a
they put
lot
in there
easier.
8%
And as we
over
continue to
2.5
make our data better,
Yeah.
it will become easier to
I think
filter to the
one other
specific
problem,
items.
challenge or project would be the
Well, we went back
descriptors and
there.
shared products, the right categories. I mean, filter them, like worry about cleaning up, would be just,
8% over
you know,
2
program for the sale. Like, for example, dog treats, proper toppers, and all that stuff.
Mhm.
That's the project.
I mean,
itself.
there's no comment.
It's gonna be ongoing,
Yeah.
but we just saw it. We're in practice. Maybe they fixed it over the last couple weeks, but that would be something to point out to.
And then is that something we could change right away when we see it, or they have to go through merchandising and buying, or
You'll have to discuss that with them.
because they have access to
'Cause
changing the.
I'm not gonna tell you to go start changing item
No.
categories.
Well, yeah, I mean, but it's
You gotta run
yeah,
it.
it's-
Hand it off to Mike or somebody.
Yeah.
Like, hey, this looks funny. Like I see joint and
But I mean-
a dental.
I mean, to have
Because
those
there's other things that they may need to look at, right?
yeah, sure.
Because if it's not a treat, is it properly priced for?
Right.
Does it have the proper margin applied to it?
I'm just saying, like every time we do a promotion, we run into this. It'd be cool if we could just correct it right there for that promotion, so that when
Yeah,
we bring that
yeah,
promotion
like-
the next time, it'll already be
Don't be
adjusted.
thick, so.
Or you set up your promotion in advance
Yeah,
and you
but-
have them
but
correct it before
Having
the promotion,
any percentage
and
rent
then
when
you
the
don't
rent's
have to worry about
25%
it.
of sales
It's already done.
isn't,
Well, we do set them up in advance.
Yeah.
So I'm saying, and that's what I mean. Like once
I think if
we
it's
run
10% of
the
sales,
once
you'd be
we
fine
program
with
it,
if you
and
got
then
the
we
right
see
number
what's
you
being
wanted.
filtered out. We send those things.
How
That,
can
hey,
it
these
be
don't look right.
600,000
Is there a way you can
if you
change
get
them to the
rents?
right category? Change
And
them.
at 2.5
As soon as
million,
they
want
update the
another
categories.
8%?
That's what I mean. Yeah,
Fucking
you do it right
crazy.
away.
So
So like
Yeah.
wait until next time, or just keep on going. You know what I mean? Just
40.95.
do it right away. But I don't know
Sales
how much
number,
that time would take
and
on that.
then-
to
Oh, I
do
would
it,
say 10%.
disrupt their
So it's
flow
5
either,
million.
So.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, then that is fair for both sides.
Just verify that.
I know, but I'm just saying, like,
Again,
you're in the ocean right now, like
Or we could just
13%.
make note of it and then be like, hey, when you get a chance, can you address these categories for next time?
well, again, so sure, you can do that. And let's actually go back to the proper topper promotion. I'll switch our view back. So here we've got proper toppers. So you can update your filters right here to not include what you're looking at, right? So here we know that the description or the long description contains proper topper. So if we tell it we don't want it to contain topper
So we can do it right there ourselves in a way.
and preview results,
Okay.
we'll see that we've actually eliminated all
subcategories
of the
and
proppers. Now, again, because long descriptions are text strings and there's no standard, like we do some amount of spell check and we try to make sure that everything's standardized, but it's a limited character field. So 50 characters, sometimes they use
Yes.
abbreviations, and so that's why it's dangerous to use that. But again, in this instance,
It
if we
worked.
look at it, it worked. So you can make those types
Just
of
case by
changes.
case.
It's going to be case by case. And sometimes you'll end up with super complex filters in order to get every single item out,
Which is
just because.
Yeah.
So,
So instead of going the way of saying proper, how would we exclude the proper toppers without doing that? Like you said, sometimes that's not the best way of long description.
You might
Sure.
have to go through HPS number.
so here,
So we are going to have to exclude products because they're going to filter and it's going to include stuff that's not in sale. So then how do we take those out?
sure. So for you, you'd have to go through all of the proper toppers and update the category. Merchandising or inventory rather has the ability to do it as an import or export. If it can be defined in very clear and clean filters, then the IT team can do something like,
Because we'll go through the Excel sheet that Tommy programs all their products and we'll highlight the ones that shouldn't be on sale. So what does he do with those highlighted those highlighted products? Do you just type in each one separately to remove it, or?
no, typically what he's doing in that case is he's actually using one of the numeric fields to mark them with a character, with a number, so that we can say, okay, just put items that have this number in that field as part of the sale. But again, it's a workaround and it's not solving any problems.
Okay.
So where
I think we'll be okay programming the April sale 10% off the whole store.
Just gotta order the group.
So So here, just an example. So you'd have to go to each of these items in Counterpoint and blah, blah, blah. This list actually isn't too extensive. It's only 8 items. But if you can give us clearly defined filters, for me, I can do and so this actually, that would be wrong. So you're saying that proper toppers should be a food?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, it wouldn't be considered a treat that we would sell typically. I'm imagining this space what I would assume it would be. So it's almost like its own category because it's a food, but it's like it's like an additive to the food.
Don't they usually pitch it as you have the ability to use this as a treat?
Yeah.
sometimes?
So that's why
And so
It's probably,
both. That's the
Yeah.
thing. That's why. So it's like this is a case where it's like I'm not sure what would be right though. If it should be
so
treated. or
then
food.
maybe it should have its own category.
That's what I mean.
If
Like,
it's not being treated as a treat for sales,
yeah, but maybe right. I hear
and
you.
it's not being treated as a food for sales, then it should probably have its own category.
but I don't think it's you or I guys determining.
No, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't need you guys determining.
No, terminated. Determined.
Right. So this is something we have to like have a discussion about potentially. Yeah. But yeah, this is cool.
So.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah, you did a great job. Good job, Dan. I can see you being a teacher one day.
I ain't
Could be your
got time
calling.
for that.
Could be your call. Yeah, you are. Man.